Clara was the woman everyone talked about. Men called her stubborn, women called her selfish. Parents warned their daughters not to become like her. At 35, Clara wasn't married. She owned a small bookstore, traveled alone when she wanted, spent her money how she pleased, and never asked anyone's permission to live her life. To the town, that was suspicious. If she keeps acting like that, she'll end up alone. Nobody can tell her anything. She thinks she knows better than everyone. The town spoke about Clara as if she were some kind of villain. Ironically, she bothered nobody. The real problem was that nobody could control her. When a local businessman tried flirting with her and she rejected him, he called her arrogant. When neighbors pressured her to settle down, she smiled and changed the subject. When relatives told her how she should live, she simply said, "Thank you for your opinion." Then she continued living exactly as she pleased. That drove people crazy. Among Clara's biggest critics were several married women in town. Whenever Clara walked by, they whispered, "Must be nice having no responsibilities. She only thinks about herself. She's lucky." Clara never argued. She would simply wave and continue walking. Then, little by little, life started teaching lessons. One afternoon, Sarah excitedly found a painting class she wanted to join. She mentioned it to her husband. No. That was the end of the conversation. A week later, Emily wanted to visit her sister in another city. Her husband thought it was unnecessary. No. Trip canceled. Another woman wanted to start a small online business. Her family laughed at the idea until she abandoned it. No. Again. Again. And again. At first, they accepted it. After all, that was how things had always been. One evening, several of the women were sitting together when Clara walked into a cafe carrying a backpack. "Where are you off to now?" one asked sarcastically. "3 days in the mountains," Clara replied. The women stared. "Alone?" "Of course." One laughed nervously. "My husband would never allow that." Clara tilted her head. "Allow?" The question hung in the air. Not rude, not angry, just curious. "Allow?" Nobody answered. For the first time, the women felt uncomfortable. Not because of Clara, because they realized they had said something Clara would never say about herself. Months passed. The realization kept growing. Whenever they wanted to do something, there was someone else's approval standing between them and their choice. Whenever Clara wanted something, she simply made a decision. Slowly, they stopped seeing her as selfish. They started seeing her as independent. The difference was enormous. The turning point came when Sarah's daughter announced she wanted to study in another city. The family objected immediately. "It's too far. It's unsafe. What will people say?" Sarah opened her mouth to agree. Then she remembered every dream she had buried after hearing those exact words. For the first time in her life, she said, "No, let her choose." The room fell silent. Later that week, Sarah visited Clara's bookstore. "I owe you an apology." Clara looked confused. "For what?" "We spent years calling you selfish." Clara laughed. "And?" Sarah smiled. "You weren't selfish." "What was I then?" Clara closed a book and grinned. "Apparently very popular, since everyone spent years discussing me." Both women burst out laughing. Then Sarah said quietly, "The truth is, we weren't angry because you were wrong." Clara raised an eyebrow. "We were angry because you were free." For a moment, neither spoke. Then Clara smiled gently. "Freedom isn't something someone gives you. It's something you stop giving away." The women finally realized that Clara was never the villain society claimed she was. She simply refused to surrender her choices, while everyone else had been taught to hand theirs over to others. The world will often call a free person selfish before it calls them brave. But sometimes the people judged most harshly are simply the ones who dare to live by their own terms, and in doing so, quietly show others what is possible.